There's a three-part strategy on reducing the deficit. One of those is to freeze in place over the next 3 years domestic discretionary spending. The second piece is to put in place a deficit reduction commission to come back to us at the end of the year to say, here's what we ought to do with respect to entitlement program spending, here's what we ought to do with respect to the expiring Bush tax cuts. Third part is just really a waste, fraud, and abuse agenda. And the last part is to rein in the growth of defense spending. Secretary Gates wants to take $100 billion out of the defense budget. That's the four-part strategy. Since 2002, agencies have had a responsibility, not all federal agencies, but a bunch of them had a responsibility to report improper payments, payments by mistake, fraudulent payments, that sort of thing. And some agencies have done it, some have not. We strengthened that considerably with legislation that the President signed in July that I authored, and included there is not only do all federal agencies have to report improper payments, they got to stop making them. And the third thing they need to do is to go out and recover the monies that have been improperly paid, overpaid, in many cases fraudulently paid. And so report your improper payments. 2, stop making improper payments. 3, go out and recover the money that you've misspent. There's something called a tax gap that's been around for a long time, and I think in 2001 the IRS said that there's about $300 billion in taxes that are owed, not being collected by the IRS. We have some idea who owes it, but unable to recover it for reasons that vary. In my own office, we've gone to work on this to say, how can we we're not going to eliminate the $300 billion in tax gap, but we've identified a number of provisions that we can change in the tax law that will make sure, better ensure that everybody's paying their fair share. Before we raise the taxes, I think, to me at least, we ought to say the smart thing to do is to make sure before we raise taxes, to make sure that people who owe taxes are paying what they owe. As governor of Delaware, I had line and veto. I could veto a bill, I could veto parts of a bill. Most governors have that power. The president has something like that, although it's very weak. The president can sign his spending bill into law and come back and say, by the way, Congress, there's some provisions here I'd like to reduce or eliminate. And he sends a message to the Congress. It's called a rescission, to rescind, reduce spending. The Congress generally ignores them and they go away. Our legislation would say, look, in the future, when the president signs an appropriations bill, spend money, has some ideas to reduce a portion of those appropriations, to rescind them, that we'd have to vote on it. We could vote it down in the House or Senate, simple majority, 51 in the Senate, 218 in the House, would kill the presidential rescission, but we'd have to vote on it. And the idea is to try it for 4 years and see how it works. It's not the whole end game, but it's actually could be a very helpful tool in our toolbox for reducing our deficits. In 2001, there's something like $45 billion in major weapon systems cost overrun. $45 billion. Last year, $295 billion in major weapon system cost overruns. And when you have that going on, the key is to find out which weapon systems are coming over budget or not performing and eliminate them if they can't get them straightened out. Last year, we killed the F-22 fighter aircraft, hugely expensive, not very reliable. This year, we're going to pull the plug on the production of C-17s, very good airplane. We just have to have a whole lot more of them than we need. So it's the kind of thing that we need to do. We need strong presidential leadership. We have it. Leadership from Secretary Gates, Department of Defense. We have it. Now we have to stand up and be counted in the Congress. We can ignore deficits. We could sort of like let them go along without trying to address them. That's not good. It's not good for our country. It's not good for our long-term economy. It's not good for the kids and the grandchildren that we leave behind us. There's no one silver bullet to eliminating budget deficits. We have to go at it from all different directions. We need Democrats, Republicans. We need the House, the Senate, and so we need the President. And together, I think we can make a real difference. And I'm determined to do just that.